I've been an investor for 5 decades plus or minus, and I can tell you that I landed on this spot because my financial freedom framework identified this crypto, this ecosystem, as a likely candidate to earn my hard-earned dollars. And it sort of works like this. The first thing that you need to do is educate yourself. Put at least 100 hours of focused study into any asset that you're thinking about investing in. And in this case, I would say read the PulseBitcoin white paper. It's chock full of 25 pages of improvements. If it makes sense to you, then what you need to do is build your conviction level. That's the second step of the 4 steps of financial freedom. So increase your education, increase your conviction. That will then lead to an increased allocation into the assets that you fancy. And inevitably that leads to financial freedom. Now, how do you actually evaluate cryptos? What makes these things different? Love already talked about, he was in legacy for years and years, and I was in legacy for, well, I'm still in legacy, but hard for 40 years. And there's some highlights that you need to pay attention to. The first and most important thing you need to get your arms around is, what is the community doing? Is the community buying and holding and onboarding and using the assets as design intended or not? And if they are, in particular, what are the top wallets doing? Because those can be considered to be VCs. If the VCs are just injecting their money and then withdrawing it after a very short period of time, I don't care what the product market fit of the token is, it's not going to make it. And that's why you see a lot of rug pulls and everything else. So here in this asset or in this ecosystem, our whales absolutely are buying, holding, mining, and using it as intended. The second most important thing is, are you early or not? Because if you're early, then you can get a very low cost basis. CryptoLove already mentioned that we're very near where our launch price was, which means that it's an excellent time to accumulate. And if you're in a bear market, you shouldn't necessarily be looking at price. The only number that really matters is how many tokens are in your sacks. That's it. So why stay away from things that have some age on them? Well, because the early player murder hornets that bought in at a fraction of a penny or a fraction of whatever the market value is now, they can dump on your heads. And so you need to get involved early with great assets in order to make financial freedom. The third thing is, what is the product market fit of the asset? And I don't mean what folks are saying, but honest to goodness, what is the utility? Our ASIC token is the purest form of utility on the planet. It has one purpose in life, and that is to generate more PulseBitcoin, which is the world's premier store of value. And so that's a very synergistic force multiplier for your finances. And then I think the last thing that's important is, what is the track record of the founder? Does the founder write immutable code? Are there admin keys or not? And has he released any other tokens in the past? And if so, what has their performance been? And every one of those boxes we can check in the affirmative, that these are all great things. So I wanted to pass that on. Those are the important highlights of, if you're thinking about investing in crypto, where you should focus your study, and then build that conviction level up so that you can make a decent allocation so you can move your needle and get into financial freedom.
And then you look at the cool part about what Pepe just said, is you look at, Bitcoin, the original Bitcoin. A lot of people, when you got in early in Bitcoin, you had no idea that Bitcoin was going to take off like it did, right? So a lot of the miners were selling their ASIC to get back into Bitcoin. So if you look back further, like the pizza guy who had all those 10,000, Bitcoin that he sold, right? This ecosystem we're in now, we have history on our side. Regular Bitcoin didn't have history on their side. They had no idea what was in front of them. All they knew was they had to sell their Bitcoin. They had to sell their ASIC to get more Bitcoin. So every month they were selling, buying, selling, buying. They didn't realize that Bitcoin was going to become the way it did. Us here in this ecosystem, we're so early, we're 90 days in. We have that same opportunity to look at history and don't repeat history. We have a chance to look on how the ASIC was getting sold then. We don't have to sell our ASICs, right? We're in the bear market, guys. So the accumulation phase is like right now. We can really take this whole year to really look at this and just accumulate. Get your ASIC, get your PulseBitcoin in 30 days and just hold. Wait until we get to, like what Pepe says, we get into the bull market. And then when you hit your magic number, you can really start looking at that. But right now, we look at some of these charts, you look at the prices, people are selling, people are not looking at history. They're just repeating the history that happened. And what we're trying to do in our ecosystem now is not repeat that self.